In every multiplayer game that exists, players are always finding a way to try and get a slight edge over their opponents. Whether that's through mastering basic mechanics of the game, or even mastering those unintuitive mechanics that can work in your favor. What I'm talking about when I say this is things like B-hopping in Quake, button combos in Halo 2, or anything along those lines. So today I want to talk about whether developers should do anything about these things once they are discovered in the game, or if they should leave them in for players to use. As an unintended mechanic stays in a game long enough, it becomes ingrained with the identity of the game, and it obviously then becomes something that the developers cannot remove. This would be the case for things like B-hopping in Quake, or even Counter-Strike. If the devs of those games were to try and remove B-hopping now, there would be extreme backlash, and it's just not something that's even on the table. However, newer games have the opportunity to either embrace mechanics like this from the start, or take them out before they become too ingrained in the game's community. So what are pros of having mechanics like this? Well, they allow your dedicated players to get an edge over players who have not learned these mechanics, thus increasing the skill ceiling. However, this immediately can hurt the new player experience, because if you're just a casual player who just launched up the game and you're getting dumpstered by a dude that's b-hopping around the map like Foon, or a dude that's double-shotting you in Halo 2 with the BR, you might end up being very frustrated. For some players, this frustration will lead to them looking up how to do these mechanics and improving. But there are others that will just end up confused and possibly even quit playing the game. So let's take a look at Apex Legends. When the game launched, you were originally able to b-hop while healing, and this was a huge deal, as it minimized the movement speed penalty you would get and allowed players to stay mobile while healing. Respawn eventually decided to remove this mechanic as they felt it was not good for the game overall, and especially hurt the more casual player who was unable to perform these b-hops. This led to some pretty severe backlash from the hardcore community, although if we're honest, this backlash has been pretty forgotten by now. So, was this the right call? Personally, in this case, I'd probably say yes. While I love b-hopping in games, it is a mechanic that unless you go out of your way to look up how to do, you'll probably just never figure out on your own. And that can lead to tons of players, even ones who play a decent amount, to be put at a huge disadvantage to those who know how to do it. With Apex being so new, I think removing the ability to b-hop while healing was not a bad decision. Now, let's look at Halo 2. As you guys know, I talk about Halo all the time on this channel, so of course Halo is going to be in this video. But Halo 2 had two main button combinations that come to mind when you think about Halo 2, and that's the BXR and the BXB. These allow you to double shot and shoot someone while meleeing. These turn the battle rifle from a good mid-range to long-range option into the best gun in the game, besides like the power weapons like the rocket launcher or the sniper rifle. With these button combos, there is basically no reason to ever use an SMG if you were able to perform them. However, this also led to what I can imagine was many newer players getting their shit just absolutely pushed in by a dude who had mastered hitting buttons on their controller really fast. Now obviously, I'm not saying we should go back and remove the button combos in Halo 2 or even the Master Chief Collection version of Halo 2. That would be ridiculous, as those mechanics have been around for 15 or so years and have become a part of the game. However, I will say I was extremely pleased to hear that 343 did not decide to include them when they developed Halo 2 Anniversary for the Master Chief Collection. So what's the takeaway here? Unintended mechanics bad? Okay. Nah, being serious, I think it's a toss-up. It really depends on the mechanic itself and how exploitative it is. We just went through two that I think either could have been removed or were actually removed. So now, let's talk about some of the ones that haven't been removed. When I'm talking about this, I'm thinking some of the really cool movement mechanics that you can do in Halo 5, as I imagine not all of those were intended when they developed the game. But I obviously wouldn't want to see them all removed. Same with some of the trick jumps you can make in the older Halos. It's kind of a give and take. I think things like the button combos are bad if they were in a new game because they give a huge advantage to the player using them, whereas more movement-related mechanics, while giving advantages for sure, are less immediately noticeable by the newer casual player. Imagine you just downloaded Halo 2. And some dude double shots you with the BR. You're probably thinking, what just happened to me? Why is his battle rifle better than mine? However, on the flip side, imagine you just got into Halo 3, and some dude makes a jump from one part of the map to another and ends up killing you. While both cases lead to you getting killed, one is infinitely more noticeable and frustrating than the other. So this is why I think for the most part, movement-related mechanics are okay as long as they do not get ridiculous, like the original slide boost in Halo 5 that got removed, where you would basically go flying like Superman across the map. Overall, while these mechanics are definitely good for your more dedicated players, they can be very detrimental for new players and more casual players. So it's a delicate balance that the devs must achieve, where there are a lot of cool ways for a hardcore player to get an edge besides just raw aim, while also not letting those mechanics get too out of hand where a new player comes in and just gets dumpstered by things they do not understand and ends up quitting the game. Think of a game like Quake, where one of the reasons that new players do not get into the game is just how unforgiving the game's mechanics are. Experienced players run all over you, and while in an ideal world you would just hope that these new players would hunker down, look up some videos, practice, and improve, many players in this day and age just don't do that, as there's so many other things they could just go play instead. Plus, let's be honest, getting repeatedly wrecked is not fun for everyone. There's a slight caveat here that obviously, skilled matchmaking kind of alleviates these issues, because really your experienced players probably aren't playing your new players, but that isn't always the case, especially with social modes or games. As the population goes down, you might end up playing a player that has a lot more experience than you. Anyways, that kind of concludes my thoughts on this topic for today. Let me know what you think about mechanics like these in games, and whether or not you think they should be left in. Like always, if you enjoyed the video, you can like it, sub to the channel, or whatever else you want to do. You can also follow me on Twitch, where I stream a few times a week, along with follow me on good old Twitter, where I tweet all sorts of nonsense. And if that's not enough for you, why don't you come ahead and join the Discord? And for some reason, I even made a Reddit, although it's pretty dead, so All the links for those things will be in the description if for some reason you care, and I'll see you guys next time.